Okay, and now the camera will also hear that I'm saying that everybody can hear me. So I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. Look, this is a very simple debate. We are going to prove to you that A, the people that are going to go through this conversion therapy and succeed will be a lot more happier and will weigh why they are more important. But B, we will also explain to you why only when we are legalizing, we are making sure that people are getting less harmful conversion therapy, and because of that, this is also better. Yeah, this is what I'm going to prove. This is going to be fun. Let's start with a little bit of mechanism and stuff like that. We think that it's very important for us to say it. We think that it's likely for us to only legalize it for people that are adult, the same way that we are only letting people to smoke or drink alcohol only when they are above 18. I think it's very likely for us to also be able to do it for conversion therapy. I think that when we are talking about this conversion therapy, it's likely to be something kind of like CBT or psychodynamic kind of conversion, and not like things that are actively harming those people. I think that also the psychology that is doing this treatment will still have to be legally obliged to the interest of the patient and all the stuff. I think that at any point, if the patient says that he doesn't want this treatment, this should stop and all those stuff, I think this doesn't change from the status quo. What does change? So I think that first of all, the fact that we have a good treatment is something that is not true in the status quo, and this is very important. Why do you think that this is so important? Let's look. I think that when we're talking about people that are actually likely to go to conversion therapy, we're talking about like one main population in this debate. We're likely to talk about people that are for more conservative population, because those are people that don't feel accepted inside the society and that they actually have something to lose if they will pursue their sexual orientation. I think that, so I think this is the main population that we're talking about this debate. Why do you think that it's better for them to try to convert us? So I think that first of all, we need to understand that this just increased their freedom. If we believe that we should let people choose the way they want to believe and choose the system of norms they want to believe, this is only increased tomorrow, because I, as an adult person, can now stop and say, look, I have this orientation, which I have lived with many years. I'm likely to hear from my psychologist there are alternative ways, or from other parts of society. And now I need to choose if I want to stay in my conservative society and change the way that I'm behaving and choose those norms, or should I choose the other kinds of norms? This is what I'm actually creating. I'm creating a situation in which people can choose more, and this is just better for them because A, they just know that they are now choosing something from their own will, and they know that they have not been kicked out only because they weren't able to change. They can actually choose to go into this, and B, we think they are more likely to actually prioritize the things that are important for them in life. Why do you think that most of the people that will choose to stay there and will actually succeed will be a lot more? Because today, when you are failing to be a part of the society, it's just a huge price for the people inside the society. Why? A, because you're losing all your connection. You're losing all your friends from your childhood. Your family might disconnect with you and all those stuff. And this is just horrible for all those kind of people. So that even if this doesn't happen, you're just like, you will always be in conflict with yourself. Why? Because you know that the belief that you're currently living with, and the fact that you're perceiving the fact that you're gay or something like that, it's just in clash with the things you've been raised on. You know that those kinds of notions that you have inherently believe in are just in clash. In our world, after a full psychological treatment, you're more likely to accept the fact that you are just not agreeing with the same values of the society, and because of that you're living them. B, if you will succeed, you will just be a lot more happier. Now, why? Because you are more able to make sure that you're fulfilling more of the inherent value that have been important for you for more of your life, because you don't lose your society and all that stuff, because you wouldn't suffer from a lot of harsh treatment over the years. This will be in my other point, my second point. And we think that the opposition might come and say here, but look, today a lot of people are just not going through this conversion therapy because they know that this is not an option. And because of that, this is just better for them, because 50% will still fail. So there are two main things that we need to understand. Even if it will be fail for most people, we just let in the status quo people to decide to do stuff that harmful them. I think that we are, as a country, are obligated to let people choose those stuff on the same level, in the same way that I told you before, that we are letting people to decide to smoke and all those stuff. We just think that we don't have the position as a government to just go and to tell people, no, your sexual orientation is something that we don't believe that you should have the ability to try to choose to fix or not fix. Because of that, we just think that those people that are actually going to succeed or actually going to try are more important. But second of all, we think that a lot of those people are going to go to conversion therapy and it will not, and it won't happen in our world, are just going to go into conversion therapies in both worlds. Why do we need this exactly? Because they come from those extremely conservative societies, and because they actually believe that they should be different and all this stuff. And yeah, those people are likely to be on the same level. Look, before we continue, I'll tell you why those people that are actually going to conversion therapies in both worlds are better. In our side, let's say closing.
What do you think will happen to people that go to the conversion therapy and it will fail?
Look, so I think they are going to be in the same situation like they are today. Today they are feeling that they are unable to change the way they are behaving, even though it's not in the same, even though it's clash with their normative values and stuff like that. I think that tomorrow, at least you're in a treatment with a psychologist that is with you for all this time and is actually taking care of you and explains to you that it's only 50% likely of chance and is likely to stop it when you're not good, because it's an actual good psychologist and not some bullshit and professional one. So at least you have this psychologist stuff. But second of all, we just think that like the amount of data that you're able to prove about people that aren't able to change is just not very like comparative, and those people are suffering in both kinds of work. Why are they going to suffer less in our world? Because look, this is a very simple black market case. Notice that today we have a lot of kinds of conversion therapy. Some of them are more psychological and stuff like that, but some of them are actively harmful for people. I think that treatments as shocking people, treatment as actually making you cut yourself and stuff like that are extremely harmful. I think that you are less likely to get those kind of treatments tomorrow because you're just able to actually rank the amount of treatments, and nobody can tell you, oh, my treatments also work and stuff like that, because you can have actually conversational in society and you have psychological that says to you, look, I'm legitimized, and B, just the fact that you are now able to do those kind of treatment without breaking the law means that you're more likely to go to specific conversion therapy. Because of that, and because most people are going to go to conversion therapy are symmetrical in both worlds, we just prefer them to do it in our way that will happen more when we are only legalizing the good treatments. For all this reason, we beg you to propose.
I thank the speaker for a wonderful speech, and to begin side opposition in this debate, I am happy to call upon the leader of opposition.
Am I audible? Okay. 1 sec. Okay, I'm going to begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, this motion is a terrible idea, and we don't understand why OG assumed 2 things that they should argue about in this debate, and we think the fact that they assumed it insofar in this debate actually loses them down. What do they assume, and they are mistaken assuming? Firstly, they assume free choice for these people. We're going to prove to you why free choice does not exist, and these people have to inherently forego a very important part of their identity, and they cannot rationally make that choice. Secondly, they just assume that the same amount of people will forego these treatments on both sides of the house. We think this premise is false. Under their side of the house, when these treatments are very, very dangerous, they know that they're likely to be putting themselves in an immense psychological risk that is at many times irreversible. We think this is something that deters most people from doing that, and they don't do that, and they do that significantly less on our side than on their side. We don't understand why they just assume that, right? These are irreversible harms that are very, very major, that can affect the rest of my life and how it develops. We don't think that the amount of people that will undergo this is symmetrical. We're going to do a few things. Firstly, I'm going to explain to you why the pressure on these individuals is likely to be much, much bigger on their side of the house than on our side of the house. Secondly, I'm going to explain to you why this will lead more people, why this this like takes the choice of people from doing that. So even at their best side, when people do that like quote unquote safely, it is not, it harms their autonomy. They have no choice actually to do so. Secondly, we're going to explain to you why this leads to immense practical harms, even for the individuals who don't do it, as well as to the individuals who do it. Let's go into, let's dive in, right into it. Look, pressure from your society is not something that is binary, right? It's not either you have pressure or something that, or you don't have pressure. Pressure is a spectrum, right? We accept the fact that today there is some amount of pressure on these individuals to undergo this statement. However, we think this pressure is not so significant, and it's significantly less heavy, like on our side of the house than on their side of the house. Why? Two reasons. Firstly, on our side of the house, it is not safe, right? The fact that we have that in the info slide, we have like the ability to do it like in a 50% chance to succeed. It means that we have the scientific ability to do so. It doesn't mean that when it is illegal, we can actually do it de facto with this success rate. Why? Because this is very analogical to like abortions, right? If we have the scientific ability to do this to some extent safely, right? But the minute it is illegal, it shifts to dark alleys. People, you have less supervision on the people who are doing that. People who are not certified to do it actually do it, right? This means that the procedure itself will not be very safe, and it's likely to be very unsafe, right? And this is why the pressure is unlikely to be unlikely to be very big, because at the end of the day, people like love the people in their family and all of these things, and don't want to pressure them into going something that is very dangerous. And also I myself understand that I don't want to go undergo a treatment that is very likely to be very dangerous for myself. This also comes back to the point about the amount of people undergoing this treatment not being symmetrical. Second reason is that most of the pressure actually comes from the people surrounding me, my family, right? We think that although there may be some pressure, they might not be happy with my sexual orientation, but at the end of the day, my children are the people who give me meaning, right? They give my life meaning. I actually want to support, and I actually want to support them, and I usually accept their point of life, their lifestyle, right? Even people who exit like the religious lifestyle, we don't see the family cutting complete ties with them. Like, sure, there's unhappy with that to some extent, but they won't cut ties completely with them. We think this is a very important framing for this debate. But how does all of this change under the motion? Why is the pressure is very likely to increase significantly on their side of the house? Firstly, it is much easier for me to justify pressuring them, right? They don't now I can tell them, look, you don't have to worry about safety because it decreases significantly. Like it's significantly more safe to undergo this treatment. So go ahead and do it. You don't have to worry about your health that much. Secondly, the fact that I myself know that I can do it in a manner that is significantly safer on their side of the house is likely to create an internal pressure, because if I see my family very unhappy, as themselves want you to believe, if I see my family very unhappy and disappointed with my lifestyle, I'm likely to want to satisfy them, exactly because it is very painful for me, as Michal herself analyzes, it is very painful for me to cut their ties with them. This proves to you an internal pressure that exists with myself to undergo this treatment on their side of the house. Thirdly, the fact that more people do it, right? The fact that someone in my family, like my cousin or my neighbor or something like that, did it doesn't only affect them, right? It also affects me. All of my society will see this as something that should be done and is being done in our society, and will also pressure me to do so. Before I go on, I will take closing. We try to engage. Please note panel opening.
Look, we think that every day you're making decisions based on the pressure that your family and your beliefs are creating. If at least 50% of the people have...
Okay, pressure is again not something that is binary. Let's analyze now why this pressure takes all of the choice from you, is not just like some pressure that exists in the world. Why? Because we think that because the okay, if on our side, the choice is between continuing in like your gay lifestyle or whatever, or undergoing something that is extremely unsafe. We think it is easier to say that here we have a choice because it is clear that and it is easier not to blame me for not wanting to go something that is so not safe. But what happens on the comparative? On the comparative, you inherently lose this choice. Why? Because you inherently have to lose a part of your identity. Either you lose your sexuality, the people the feeling of the people you're attracted to, the people that you want to build a family with, or you lose your family, the people who have raised you, the people who love you so much and you love them so much. We say when the choice is so hard, it is like going into the sea and see someone drowning and telling them, look, either you die, or if I save you and you have to be my slave for the end of my life. Both decisions are so terribly bad that any choice is very, very bad. And at these situations, you have no choice at all. Note, this itself is enough to take all of OG's case down, because they just assume choice the minute they don't have it, even in their best case. When they actually choose to forgo this treatment, they have no choice at all. And this is something that takes away their autonomy that we value so much. And for all of the reasons, please oppose.
I thank the speaker for a wonderful speech, and I'm going to now have to ask that everyone consent to having an observer in the room, because we apparently have one.
I did not realize it's something that requires consent, but I will leave if you don't.
I think it's fair to say that it does, but does anyone have a problem with an observer?
I am. Okay, no
Fine,
problem.
I will leave.
Okay, if no one has a problem, then I think we're good. And without further ado, I am happy to call upon our Deputy Prime Minister.
לא שומעים אותי, סליחה. Sorry, I haven't been heard. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. First of all, what I'm going to do is to explain to you the comparative. Then I'm going to further explain to you why it's helpful for people who want the conversion therapy, and of course some POIs. First of all, let's make clear let's make very clear the comparative, okay? Today in our world, there is no supervision at all. Everybody does whatever they want, okay? We know that it's more likely, as Michal told you in the Black Mirror, people are going to many different treatments, okay? That some of them actually hurt people when they use, I don't know, electronic or whatever, something that hurt you, okay? So what is the comparative? The comparative is using and legalizing a treatment that maybe work, maybe does not work, but it is safe, or on their side, using a treatment that hurt people. On our side, we do not hurt people to that extent. I think this is the right comparative in this debate. I'm going to show it further. Okay, let's talk about the whole point that we've heard from OO, because we tell you, there is no real choice for those people. It's a lot of pressure on them, even if it's done safely, okay? And we have less supervision, okay? They tell us, it's easier for your family to put pressure on you, more people do it, etc., etc. We tell you this is symmetric to every choice that we have in life, okay? When you have social pressure, when your family tells you to get married when you don't want to get married, when your friends around you tell you to smoke when you don't want to smoke. We think that none of the choices that we make around life are 100% ours, and there is always pressure. But what we get on our side that they don't get. Pay attention, when it's not legalized, I have no comparison. I have no baseline. I don't know which treatment are going to actually help me and whether or not I went to the right treatment, okay? Because in this situation, it's really hard to talk about these things, okay? Because it's illegal. You don't know if your psychologist is a good psychologist. You don't know if he's allowed to use it, okay? Tomorrow, we have a standard character, I hope I use the right word, of the state, which tells you this is a treatment that might work and maybe it might not. And you know what's the right analogy? Psychoanalysis, like Analysia. We don't know for sure it's going to work, and maybe people are not going to get the benefit of that, and maybe they will, but they are not going to be harmed that harsh as much as we have in any other things that we have in life, that we can take those choices on us. Last thing I want to have is to answer for people from and also engages in with the CO. Tell us like, what happens with people who go to this and it's fail? Well, it's comparison to every risk that we take in our life that it might fail, okay? And we allow people to try things that may be not helpful for them, okay? But at least on our side, there is somebody who is going to accompany you and help you to achieve your goals, if that is your goals. Let's understand more specifically in my point why it's going to help those people. Because we told you that the most important population that we are talking about are people who are in a conflict, that they don't want to be in this situation, okay? It's really hard for them, okay? So today, it's like when it's not legalized, Michal tells you, there are a bunch of people, okay? So you're in an ultra-Orthodox community, they send you to people of their own community, okay? That their incentive is not helping you as a patient, but helping the society, helping the community, helping you not to be ashamed for your family, okay? This is what we change tomorrow, okay? Because we give you 3 criteria to where we can legalize things. First of all, where we want to legalize. First of all, we tell you there is an active harm to the patient. Second of all, we know it's not going to, for sure, it's not going to help like 100% or whatever. And third of all, the benefit of the patient. In all of these criteria, we are standing, and I'm explaining to you. First of all, on the active harm on the patient. Pay attention that it might work and it might not, but it also might be reversible, okay? Because if you can do this thing, and scientifically, if there 50% it may change, even if I done it and it succeeded for me, I can go later and do it on my own, okay? And maybe today I'm lesbian and I change myself to be a straight, but I don't know, in 5 years, I can go to a treatment again. If I change my mind, I want to be a lesbian again, and it's all right, okay? So I can do it. But moreover than that, we tell you, okay, there is no active harm moreover than smoking, moreover than alcohol. And there we know for sure that in high level is going to harm you. Here, no high levels are going to harm you. It's just going to fail as any other things. Second, we tell you where it's not going to help. So this is really, really for sure. In electronic thing, we know it's not going to help because we know it scientifically. Today, we have a 50% chance that it might change you. But the last thing, and this is the most important thing, that today all the people who do conversion therapy for you, their incentive is not helping you, but helping the people who, I don't know, paid for you, okay? Tomorrow we tell where it's legalized, you have the ethical rules as a psychologist that you need to be signed on and telling you cannot hurt your patient unless you're going to the jail. Before I move on, I will take first house with a clear, I don't know, extension.
Okay, don't let them get away with telling you they can do it safely. We have analyzed why they only have a 50% chance, why the psychological harms on their side is much more likely than 50% because of the cutoff size.
Okay, pay attention that 50% chance of success doesn't mean it is not safe, doesn't mean they do electronic thing on you, doesn't mean that you have no psychological ethic that you need to stand in, okay? Given that it's legalized, on our side, we have more supervision, okay? Today, all those ultra-Orthodox kids, okay, go when they are kids, when they have no choice, okay, much more no choice than your side, and they are going to people from their own community that their incentive is not clear to us. Tomorrow on our side, from the age of 18, okay, you can choose whether or not to go, even if you have pressure on your family, that's fine with us, okay, and then you can decide, okay, whether or not to move on with it. But more than that, only people that got the certification of the country are allowed to do that. And if you are not, you are going to jail. So we told you what is the criteria for allowing this and making legalization. We explained to you how the black market works. Since the most important people for us here are the people who want it and we want to allow them this, we call you to propose.
I thank the speaker for a wonderful speech. And to continue side opposition and conclude this top half debate, I'm happy to call upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Hi, am I audible? Okay. So I'm going to start my speech on 3, 2, 1. Before I start my point, please note the children on your side have no choice, okay? And their mechanism, their OG mechanism, says the children are out of this debate. So please note that all the last case that we heard from Michal is out of this debate. Okay, I'm going to do 3 main things in this debate. The first one is to answers to what we heard from OG about the black market. And about the case that we heard now, what are the criteria for legalization of this treatment? And then I'm going to explain you why it's bad for those people after the treatment. And if I have some time, then I will talk about some backlashes. Okay, so I will start my speech about the black market case that we heard from opening government. When it's in the black market, then only the people who want to do it and are going to do it in both sides of the world and aware for the dangers of it are going to do it. Only the people who actually choose to do this and actually want to do this treatment. Those people will do it on both sides of the house. Then government might say that this will give them a better therapy, but note for 2 things. First of all, 50% is not a lot of success rate. It's actually 50-50, okay? Then it's not such a good one, which doesn't really promise them a success. And second of all, when it's not legalized, then the companies of those treatments have more incentive to actually create a better success rate for being legalized. Because they think that it will be accepted when they have a better success rate. This might cast them for all those companies that create those treatments to actually have more incentive to do it, to have a better success rate. Moreover, even if we give those people a better option for it, those people are a small part of the society, and actually we actually explain you why most of the people that are going to do it on government world are people who are motivated from pressure from the society and not by the personal choice. Because more people in the world that are being pushed by society are going to do those sexual therapy. For example, in minorities, for more religious people and all this. Okay, and then they are answering to our case for what Omar said. Omar told you about the pressures from the society, and then OG explained to us that we have pressures in every place. So let's explain you what is the difference between the pressure that we have in the daily life for those pressure that we have in this personal choice. So first of all, we have 2 main things. The first one is this choice is actually influence you on your whole life. You do not have a turn away, and you cannot get back to the place that you've been before. Okay, so this one in difference from the daily choices, from the daily pressure, you are not able to actually get back to the place that you've been before. Second of all, in the religious community, they have both pressure from the family and the self-pressure. They do not answer the analysis because we accept the fact that there is some pressure in both sides of the world. But we explain to you that there is pressure from my family that is significantly higher. The choice is not between my sexuality and disappointing my family, but rather my sexuality and my family as a whole. And this one is much more pressure in me. Combination with this, that it's going to influence me on the long term, and I do not have an option to get back to what I was before. Let's move on to our positive case. I guess it's positive, but it's kind of negative. Why it's going to be bad for them after the treatment? Okay, so the population that OG talks about, and we agree with them, are the more religious people who are not accepted by their society. And note, those population are not accepted by the society today. First of all, note that those exactly the population that is more likely to be pushed by the society. Those communities are not fully accepting them. And in the comparative, if they do not have this choice, if they do not have the option, the ability to change their sexuality, they are more likely to be accepted by their society because the society knows that they do not have another option. So why they are not likely to be happier after this? 2 main reasons. First one, they are not really likely to be accepted by their society after it. So the society is not really believe them. There are already been some aliens, like Chayzarim, okay, in this society, because they born in a different way. In the comparative, they will have to choose between two options. The first one is to go to the LGBTQ, when they are going to be fully accepted, and people are going to believe them, people are going to accept them, and to actually help them to get along over there. And the second choice is actually to be to stay in the religious place with their family, but they know that they made this choice, so they feel better with themselves because they know they decided to do this thing. Second of all, they are having a really serious issues of who they are. Okay, so those people who are more likely to lose a huge part of their identity. They're not doing it because of a choice, but because of the pressure. After doing this treatment, they are feeling that they are not fully understand what they are looking for now, what they need to see. If they are a boy and they see a girl, should they feel something? They do not know how they need to feel. And this one is going to to get them to feel some confusion. So before I continue, I will love to take CG, please, if you have extension.
Comparatively to black market therapy, in our side, legalized treatments improve and consists of more research and development.
Okay, so I explained you why we are more likely to get more researchers on our side, because it's not legalized, and people will, if they want it to be legalized, so they will try to do it to have a better success rate. So second of all, if they do not do it, what happens? The family and the community are more likely to cut ties. Because of and this one is insane psychological harm. They blame them. They blame me for doing this, for not doing it. Okay, and it's not because you cannot you can't do it and you're scared from your health. You don't appreciate us enough, and this might hurt them. So let's move on really quickly to our last case. Okay, so let's talk about the backlash that's creating the LGBTQ community. Today, the state that LGBTQ is born this way. This thing is helping them to push their needs and to promote the rights because they do not have another option to choose. When we give them this treatment, we are basically do not give them the option to choose by themselves. And the society will tell them to do this treatment if they want to have kids. This what happened. This might happen. Okay, this might lead to much less help to them and much less rights to be approved by the government. So what we explained, we showed you why this one isn't actually harm them, why they are not going to help for the criteria of OG, and we show you why it's logical prior to all this debate, because it's not a real choice. For all of these reasons, please,
I thank the speaker for a wonderful speech, and I'm happy to call upon the member of government to continue side government in this debate.
Am I audible? Great, so just give me a few seconds to make papers. Just 1 second, sorry. Okay. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. OG tells us that we want to improve people's life, and even if we fail, then we give them a choice. And then OO tells us that we are not really giving them a choice because the choice is not free. So this is why our first extension is going to be about choice, why choice is important as a choice, even if you like giving people the choice, even if they are likely or not likely to make the right decision. I'm going to talk about why is it still likely that they do make the right decision. Then I'm going to talk about more about the black market and how to improve the system in our side of the house, therefore improve everyone's life. So let's start. All of the engagement will be within my part. So the first thing to note about choice is that we simply believe that we want to give people as much choice as we can. This means, and this is specifically relevant in this case, where this is a very important choice in my life, right? I choose. We want to give people to choose the ability to choose how to decide how they want to live their life, how they who they want to marry, if they are going to be able to bring kids to the world or not, and simply like their entire lifestyle, their entire social social interactions, right? So, but then OO tells us, look, they don't have a real free choice. So, few responses to this. First of all, and this is perhaps the most important thing to OO, note that in comparatively, they don't have a choice at all, because in their side of the house, you are born gay, or you internalize it through like psychological methods, but you don't choose to be gay, which means that at their side of the house, you don't have choice at all. So even if in our side of the house, we only give 20% more people choice, or 10 more percent choice, then we already winning on OO's metric. The second thing is, let's dig into the real analysis that they actually give us about choice, right? What do they tell us? They tell us how people are not going to make the right choice because free choice, because they are going to have a pressure from their family, which now will be bigger. Note that specifically when we are talking about the people that we are talking about, which is more religious people and etc., these people are already experiencing this pressure in the first place, because their families believe that this is a divine law from God, or this is something that is so important to them that they are actually breaking the laws and their beliefs, that their families in the first place pressure them to make this decision. We don't understand, we don't think that tomorrow this is going to change. But let's dig even more. We think that not only that you don't have mechanisms for why you are not likely to make the right choice, here are two mechanisms as for why you are likely to make the right choice. The first thing is to understand is that we are talking about a motion, like in every debate, in a functioning democratic country, right? When we are talking about functioning democratic country, this means that we are talking about the Western world of today, which means that we have a very strong LGBTQ community, which means that we do have a pretty high acceptance in society. We do have pretty high understanding in our society of the LGBTQ plus needs and etc. This means that we are probably likely to see advocates for the other side, advocates that are going to convince you that it is also okay to stay gay like you are now, that you don't have to make the decision to move to the other side, right? We're talking about gay people like Lilach, Ben David, and like me, that just okay with being gay and are not likely to are likely to tell you that it's okay, that you don't have to change your life. Therefore, we get some like pressure and advocacy from both sides. But the second thing is, no, we are talking about an adult making a decision, right? This means that he has a lot of time to consider this decision, right? We are talking about a decision that affects you in every aspect in your life, and specifically in aspects that you believe that are very important in your life, just like I said, who to marry, bring kids, and etc. and etc. So we think that people are likely to do everything that they can in the very long term that they have to make the right decision, to make the decision that fits them even more. And you know what? Even if the decision that I make is based on the pressure that I get from my family, we simply think that it is okay, because if I want to stay in touch with my family and instead of having sex with guys, having sex with women, then I'm totally okay with this decision because I made it by myself, and this is what brings me more happiness. So now let's talk about the black market, okay? Because this is my second point. So OG already tells us that people are likely to go today to conversion therapies anyway, and this is not good, okay? So we think that they don't really analyze why it's not good. So two points of analysis for this. The first one is supervision. Note that if you today go to a chef in the Bedouin community or to any rabbi, etc., then simply they don't report any of their methods, they don't report any of the data, they don't report anything that they do to any regulator that can check these things. This is something that changes tomorrow. The second thing is, in the first place, that our methods are science-based methods. This means that before I continue, let's take the second half. First half.
On our side of the house, they are less pressure to make this choice. They are more likely to choose to leave their religious community. The point about being gay doesn't change.
Thank you. I literally answered the entire beginning of my speech. Literally answered this POI. Okay, so the second thing is like the science-based methods in the first place, right? When you're going to a psychiatrist, he's likely to check that you actually have support system around you. He's likely to check that you are valid and eligible to make this decision in the first place. These are things that rabbis and sheikhs don't check today, and this is where it's likely that you do have harms and psychological harms, right? On the other hand, what happens in our side of the house, right? Because Omar tells us that like these. That if we don't legalize it, then they have an incentive to improve the system, right? Note that at no point did they actually describe why is it likely that they are able to improve the system. So here are two reasons why only in our side you can actually improve the system. A, once you legalize it, you can collect data, you can analyze the data, you can actually check what factors are relevant to make the system work better, to make the treatment better. The second thing is that you gain money because now people pay you to do this, then you actually can afford more researchers, you can actually afford more tools, you can actually analyze the data and actually improve the system for future generations and for others that will want to do this conversion. All these reasons are proud.
I thank the speaker for a wonderful speech, and I am happy to call upon the member of opposition to continue said opposition in this debate.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I'm going to start in a few seconds. Okay, so I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to have two main points in my speech. First of all, why it's actually by allowing this, we're going to take in most of the rights from the community of the LGBTQ+, and thus making being a part of this community less of a choice. And my second point is going to be why actually this procedure is going to be very damaging on a psychological level, thus we shouldn't allow it in any case. But first of all, I'm going to have some rebuttal. So first of all, notice that we're told by opening government that people that are going to convert, going to do it safely on their world and not going to have black market. But we don't think it's actually true because, like, okay, so 50 of the person that like did it and it worked, good for them. But then for the people it didn't work, mostly it's not going to work in the next procedure, okay, or in the next one because people that do it legally use the same methods that are not very harmful, so don't see any reason why they wouldn't go to someone who can do it in the black market just for the hope that maybe this time it will work. So we think we're not really solving it, like maybe a little bit, but not really a great, enough big of a resolution, so it's gonna, for us to make it illegal. Now, notice that like we were told also by closing government that like in our world, we take choice from more people because people can choose whether they want to be queer or a part of the LGBTQ+ community or not. But we think that first of all, I want to explain when I think that why we take choice from more people that like maybe want to stay the way they were born and now they don't have this choice. But second of all, we think that like even if it's symmetric, like maybe like so in our world like there is less choice of staying this way, and on their world they have no choice of like changing. We think that like there is a chance of likelihood like you're probably most likely to wanna stay the way you were born and being happy being the way you were, rather than after like literally taking medical procedures to change yourself and try to make yourself someone that people might like more and like prefer as a person. And I'm gonna explain it in my points. So first of all, to my first point. So notice that like most of the rights that like we give people of the community is not because people like are good and accepting, it's because people like they still most of the reason we give them rights is because people rely on the fact that like they can choose it. So most of the people are maybe religious, so they think it's a sin, and most people are still primitive and still think that like maybe people like gay men will be less good of a parents and it's not okay. But they have this like understanding that like, okay, so maybe like if they could change it, we would rather them to be like I don't know, regular, okay? But because they can change it, we have that understanding of it being too big of a right to take just because we don't believe in it. And we think like on a world, we would like to live in a world when like they get this choice because they simply deserve it, but it's not the world. And we think that, like once we take this parameter of like, it's not a choice out of the equation, a lot of people are gonna actually oppose and to be the community of having rights, because thinking like, okay, they can choose not to be like this, and this is not the preferred way that we want them to be, because like it's, I don't know, whatever primitive belief you want to put in it. And we think that like by this, so we actually like taking rights from the community, which actually like notice contribute to a clash that is important to like both sides of the house, which is the choice component, because if we have less rights, then less people are going to have a choice to choose on what side they want to be, because they don't want to give up on all the rights that they will have to be for them to stay the way they were born. And like also we have less people, making them more of a minority, also contributing to the fact of them having less choice and having less right, because we make them weaker. I'm going to take a POI from opening.
Yes, in both sides of the house, I give up on a fundamental part of my identity, either as a religious or as a LGBT. We still have less people going to the harmful black market treatment as saving more people.
So first of all, I answered it in my rebuttal. We don't actually have that much of less people. And we think, it's actually my next point, why we have psychological damage that we can't ignore on our side for the people that actually managed to convert and for the people that didn't manage, and why this psychological damage is so big that we simply don't want people to have this procedure just by looking at it as a general procedure, because notice we don't allow people, even if it's their free choice, to go through a procedure that harm them in a way that isn't like in a way that is so big and bigger than the harm they had in the way they were before. So we think that like we have a psychological damage from two components here. First of all, why people like have a psychological damage? They have it when they don't feel like loved by people. Also, if they feel their love is very conditioned, because we need this. It's like our very like initial rights that we need for us to have a safety net, and to know that like there are people that love us unconditionally. There are people that are gonna be there for us no matter what. Okay. And the second thing we think it's very important to like be healthy psychologically, okay, is to have some kind of security within yourself and self-acceptance, because at the end of the day you live it yourself. And even if like you change and like maybe you like the version of yourself, unless you like accept yourself no matter what in the way you were born, you're not going to have that security, because like you can't escape from it. And I'm going to explain how we're actually harming both of these things. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the people like that maybe didn't work for them. But first of all, I would like to take it. Never mind, I'm not going to take it to I don't have time. So what happened to the people that didn't manage that the procedure didn't work on? So we think that like most likely people are not going to accept them because they're not going to be like, oh yeah, but they tried, but they couldn't, because for them it might be a sin. Maybe they think they didn't try hard enough. And also like in our world, they have a choice of trying or maybe like living a different way, and they didn't do it. So we don't think it's going to change. Okay. A second thing is going to happen for people that the procedure didn't work on. People around them are going to think that like maybe they didn't try hard enough, or maybe they are too broken to be fixed, because there is like an agreement within all of the people that like both sides agree that like are around me, pressuring me to do this procedure, that thinks like it's the wrong situation, it's the bad thing. And they're going to think it. And like also, but within myself, I'm going to be conditioned to think that like it's a bad thing, because I actually went through a medical procedure to try and fix it, and everyone like supported me going to this medical procedure, agreeing like there's something within you that is wrong. You are wrong the way you are. Okay, but actually, and also notice a third thing, I'm not going to be accepted probably, or have much hard being accepted by the LGBTQ plus community, because they all know that like I tried to change. I didn't want to be a part of them. I resented part of me that be part of them, and maybe like also I'm supporting something that is against them and taking their rights. Okay, so I'm going to have all of these. So what happened to me is like actually like I know that like I don't have this thing that like I don't have the reassurance within myself. I don't have the security within myself, and I have like an identity crisis within myself, because I tried to save myself and I couldn't, and now I'm stuck with it for my entire life, and I don't have a support system. And also for people, I think that even people that did work on are not going to have like a good life. Okay, so never mind. We think we should support us.
I thank the speaker for a fine speech, and to sum up government side of this debate, I am happy to call upon the government whip. Who is not actually, she is here. Hello.
Am I audible? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just a moment. Plotting in three classes in this debate. First about free choice, second about the success of therapy and the acceptance, and three about the LGBT community. In fact, before that, small external rebuttal to OO. So we get some point from OO, like trying to mitigate the harm done to people in the LGBT community, in those communities that might undergo those treatments, and then they say, listen, my family my children give me meaning, so my parents probably wouldn't cut ties with me. We think that this is just bullshit, okay? We have so many communities in which the parents cut ties with their children in case they're gay, in those conservative communities, so we just don't understand why that's true. And like by OO's metric, you are like the parents can pressure you to undergo those treatments, so we don't understand how. Now, let's understand why the clash of LGBT community impact isn't so important. So we think that those oppositions try to later on like changing their impact, but we think it just has no data. So what do we get from OO? We get one, if those people have no choice, society will accept them. If they have no way to undergo those therapies, this therapy, so the society will accept. We think that first, they do have this option. They have like the black market. All the things that Murad explains about how we have those therapy, we have this therapy, just not super. Two, we think that if it is a conservative community, we think that in the first place, they just don't have any chance to accept you whatsoever because they think it's still your choice or something, and we don't have analysis to that change it from O. Two, we get like from O the backlash from the LGBT community. So they say, society will say that you should do this treatment if you want to have it. We don't understand why that's likely society will say this. We think there are way more options like shared parenting and all. And then CO's case about like improving the LGBT community's power. We think that it is just enabling the LGBT community to get more rights. Three rebuttals for that. First, we think there are only 50% of people. So like even if we have less people in this community, it's only 50%. Two, we think, so it's not so small. Two, we think that some of the people in the community still will choose not to undergo those treatments because we get the narrative of free choice today, because we get many more advertisements from the LGBT community, like Murad explains. People that are like leading in the community, or just people who get their narrative and move them on. And three, we think that the people from those conservative communities that undergo conversion therapy are just not the people who are giving power to the LGBT community. We think that its power, its narratives, and its rights changing comes mainly from the liberal part, and not from the people who are conservative and they're just like still questioning their identity. First clash about free choice. So what do we get from OG? Like it's second. Okay, so what do we get from OG? Few things. OG say first, I can choose to change my sexual orientation. I can stay in my community. Why? We don't understand why this is a free choice. Obviously, OO comes with rebuttals to that. And then they say, listen to OO. Listen, in every social pressure, there's no choice. But we think that OO presents reasons for that, or why this choice is different, and Murad replies to them better. So we think that what do we get from OO says first, if in opposition side it's not safe, so less people do it. So now here are few rebuttals for that. First, we think that it is just unlikely when it is in the black market, when it is in the opposition side, even if those treatments aren't safe, they are advertised as safe and advertised as successful in order for you to come to them. Two, we think that I don't think rationally in those moments. I think about staying in my community, about what the community thinks about that. So we think that the pressure is different and demands a reply to that we don't get. Then OO comes and talks about another type of pressure. Say, listen, my family knows more. It's a possibility and pressures me more. So Murad tells here two things. First, he says that family pressured me anyway because I'm from this conservative community, so there's no delta. Two, he says, even if this pressure I have this pressure, it's a good choice. It's not just irrational because I have pressure. We need more analysis here. Murad explained why it is a good choice because it brings me good, it brings me happiness because it means that I listen, like do things that bring me better connection with my parents. And then OG says here, like, listen, like you know more about the chance of success, so there's no such harm. We don't understand why that happens. We don't understand why knowing about this chance of success means that you have a free choice. Why and the explanation for no such harm is that this is a therapist, like a real psychologist that cares about you. We also don't get an explanation for why that's true. And then Murad explains exactly why, like who is the person who gives you this therapy? Like this is a psychiatrist who is likely to see that you have support around you, like in plastic surgery, when he checks that you can actually consent, he checks that you can take this decision well. Like Murad explains why this choice is so important, because they want to live their life, because it affects their life. So, before I continue,
Look, they tell us individuals have free choice because they have a lot of time to think about it. But what does that actually mean? It means that there is more time, that they are under pressure, which falls into our house, why they have less and less choice.
No. We tell you that you have more choice because you have more people to listen to, because you, like this is something that you can listen not only to your community, not only to the people from your community, but you can listen to more actors. You can listen to advertisers from the LGBT community. You will do your best to take your free choice because this is such an important aspect of your life. This is oral explanations that we don't get from OG. And then about the clash of success and therapy, of therapy and acceptance. So it's two things that we explain way better than OG. First, OG tells about like a therapist, a psychologist that cares about you. And then Murad explains specifically why this is someone who is supervised. Why today it's not good because like in the black market, it's not good because we have no regulation, we have no reports. And Murad explains why tomorrow it's science-based methods that can be better. Another way over OG, they say, listen, like will be conversations in society on the treatments. So you do more research and then you go to better treatments. Murad explains first about why this just gets better because you legalize it. So you collect data, so you make better treatments, so you have more money for research. Two, we think in the weighing, we have just way more years of development and way more people that can get accepted and it can work for them. For all those reasons, very proud.